This is Access 2019, Module 3, Part 10. In this segment, we are looking at the last two queries in Module 3. These do tend to be two of the most missed queries on our Access case exam in the past. So please make sure that you study these and review these and know them very well when it comes time for your case exam. We're also going to be using the GroupBy option on this query as well. So we will be doing two queries in this function, or in this video. So let's go ahead and get into our Lakewood database. We're going to go ahead and create a new query in Query Design. We will only be using the billing table for this one. Now what's going to happen here is we are going to have a field that we want to calculate different statistics for. So for example, maybe we want to see the minimum, the maximum, the average. That's all they show in the textbook, but I'm going to go ahead and add a sum as well, just so we can see how these statistics work. So we're going to be looking at statistics about the field, the invoice amount. That is the only field you will add to this query. However, you have to add it one time for each statistic you want to calculate. So if we are going to calculate the minimum and the maximum and the average and the total, or the sum, we need to add it 4 times since we have 4 statistics. The next thing we have to do is come up here into our Show Hide group and add the total button. That will add a row, the total row, on our design view. And the default answer right now is GroupBy. So what we want to do is click in the total row and choose the function that we want to use. So let's start with the minimum for the first one. Then we'll do the average. And then we'll do the maximum. And finally, we will do the sum. So you'll notice I'm not doing any fancy formulas. I'm not typing in equations. I'm simply choosing an option from the drop-down list. Don't make this harder on yourself and try to do fancy formulas with calculated fields. You're using the total row and selecting an option. I'm going to save this query, so let's go ahead and run it first. You can see we get one row of information that just has the answers to what is the minimum, what is the average, what is the maximum amount, and what is the sum. One row of answers. And we're going to call this invoice amount statistics. All right, now let's suppose that they tell us, in addition to this, they want us to change the column headings. So let's go back into design view. There's two ways that we can change the column headings. So I'm going to make each of these columns bigger to make some more room. The first way to change the column name is to put a field name in front of it, in front of this field. So if they tell you to use a field name to change the column heading, you're going to click in front of the field name invoice amount, and you're going to type in minimum invoice AMT colon. You cannot change invoice AMT that's already existing on that row. Do not change that invoice amount. We'll click in front of the next one and we will type in average invoice AMT colon. Click in front of the next one. Make sure you get in front of the I so you don't mess up the field name invoice AMT. That needs to stay intact. This one is going to be maximum invoice AMT colon. And then finally this one we're going to call total invoice AMT colon. Now if I click run, you'll notice that those new field names became my column headings. Now the other way to change the field headings is by using a caption, because remember, if we don't use the field name, if we don't want what's on the field name, we can put something under the caption. So you click in a column and you click on the property sheet. You're going to come down here to the caption area and you're going to type in minimum invoice space AMT. So you're going to add the spacing. So if they ask you to put in a new column heading using a caption, you need to use the property sheet to do that. You'll click in each column, then click in the property sheet to the caption and type in average invoice AMT with the spacing. Finally, maximum space invoice space AMT, and lastly the caption will be total space invoice space AMT. Now when you click run, you can see that the caption is what is being displayed. Okay, so those are the two ways that we can change our field names. So save. We're going to save and go back to design view. So if they tell you to enter a field name, you're going to put it here on the field row followed by a colon. If they tell you to put in a caption, you're going to open up the property sheet and you're going to put it there on the property sheet. And if they tell you to do both, like they do in the textbook, then you will need to make sure that you do both of them. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close this query. And we're going to take invoice amount statistics and we're going to click on it, do a right click and say copy. Do a right click on a blank spot and say paste. Delete copy of. And then at the end of invoice amount statistics, say by walk-in. Now, since that's a longer name, you may need to enlarge the object pane so that you can make sure you click on the correct one when you make your changes. So we open it up. Again, double checking that the name on the tab is the correct one we're trying to change. We're going to go back into Design View. We need to add the walk-in field. Now the walk-in field is not in this table. So we need to be able to remember that the walk-in is in the visit table. Whether the visit was a walk-in appointment or not is in the visit table. So we're going to go to the Show Table button so that we can add another table of the visit table. So you're going to use the Show Table button to add the visit table. And next we want to do walk-in. And we want it to be the first field. So I'm going to drag it to that first spot and let everything else shift over. Now it doesn't always have to be in the first spot. That is where they tell us to put it in the book. I prefer it when it's on the first spot because it's the field that is being summarized by. So now when we run this query, instead of seeing one row, we are going to see one row for each answer in the walk-in. So since there's two answers, yes or no, we calculate our statistics for the yeses, it's a walk-in, and the no's, it's not. And if you were doing group by, let's say, a city, maybe, there were 10 cities in your data, you would have 10 rows. So this is an aggregate function with a group by. The nice thing is group by is the default. So once you add the field, the default is in there correctly, and that's all you need to do. So we can save this query. Again, when you run it, you now have two rows of answers, one for each answer in the field you grouped by. So make sure you study these two queries. They are missed a lot on the case exam, and you don't want that to be you.